25 years after GTA 3 changed open world gaming forever, I finally played through the entire story again in 2026. I expected an old, clunky game that probably wouldn't hold up today, but after finishing the entire story, I walked away with a completely different opinion. So is GTA 3 still worth playing in 2026?
Yep. Got it.
GTA 3 was the first game I completed for my Road to GTA 6 series. I played through the entire Definitive Edition story without cheats, but this wasn't my first experience with the game. When I was around 11 years old, I rented GTA 3 from Blockbuster, and it actually took me 2 separate rental periods to beat it. Back then, the game felt incredibly difficult, clunky, and almost impossible to finish. So going into this playthrough, I honestly expected it to be the hardest game in the trilogy, but playing it again as an adult was nothing like I remembered. What surprised me most was how much easier GTA 3 felt as an adult. I remembered it taking forever to finish, but this time I completed the story in only a few long recording sessions. The Definitive Edition also felt much more modern than I expected. The game still shows its age in places, but it never felt nearly as clunky or difficult as I remembered. Instead of struggling just to get through it, I was able to focus more on the story, the city, and how the missions changed as the game progressed. One thing GTA 3 still does really well is making each part of Liberty City feel completely different. Portland feels industrial, smaller, and lower income. It has hills, apartments, projects, docks, and it feels like there's only one of everything. It is not really dirty, but it feels more bland and less lively. It feels less like somewhere you would choose to live and more like somewhere you would be forced to grow up. Staten Island is where the city really opened up for me. There were more lights, more people, cooler cars, skyscrapers, and less traffic. It felt like a real major city, and it was easily my favorite island. Shoreside Vale felt much smaller and more isolated, almost like an island at the edge of the world. There was not much there besides a neighborhood, some industrial buildings, and the airport, but the bridge going up and down was really a memorable touch. If I had to describe Liberty City in one word, it would be gritty. My 3 favorite missions were Kombu Bust Out, Decoy, and The Exchange. Kombu Bust Out felt like something straight out of an action movie. Using a police car to break someone out of a prison with an explosion was just cool, and the mission went fairly smoothly for me. I even found 3 police bribes nearby, which helped me lose the wanted level and drop him off safely. Decoy might have had the best atmosphere of any mission in the game. I was driving through the airport in an armored truck while police cars were swerving and slamming into me. Helicopters were overhead, planes were parked everywhere, and other planes were coming and going. With the water surrounding the airport, it felt like I was driving at the edge of the world. The exchange was really a satisfying finale. Hitting Catalina's moving helicopter with all 3 rocket shots felt amazing. Then the credits roll, Maria is talking, and you hear a gunshot. Since Claude never says anything, the idea of him finally getting tired of listening to her is hilarious. It also made me wonder what happens to him next, because almost everyone he knew was either dead or gone. GTA 3 still holds up better than I expected, but there are definitely parts that show its age. The biggest issue for me was the lack of checkpoints. Failing near the end of a mission usually meant driving all the way back, starting over, and repeating parts you had already completed. The aiming and the camera could also feel awkward, especially during missions that required quick reactions. There were moments where I felt like I was fighting the controls more than the enemies. The city could feel empty in certain areas too. Portland especially had long stretches that felt quiet and bland compared to the later islands. None of these things ruined the game for me, but they were constant reminders that I was playing something originally released in 2001. The 2 missions that gave me the most trouble were Smackdown and Waka Gashira Wipeout, but for completely different reasons. Smackdown was probably the most frustrating mission in the game for me. You had to take out 8 Yardie street pushers, but while I was driving toward one, the target would sometimes disappear from the map because another Yardie had already taken them off the streets. That meant there was no perfect route. I could be halfway across the city heading towards someone, and suddenly I would have to turn around and find another target while the timer kept running. It took me around 3 or 4 attempts, and when I finally completed it, it honestly felt like the game had given me slightly more time. Waka Gashira Wipeout also took me about 4 attempts, but most of those failures were my fault. On one attempt, I damaged the car so badly that it exploded after I ran Kenji over. On 2 other attempts, I got out of the vehicle, which caused the Yakuza to recognize Claude and fail the mission. The mission itself was actually fun. I just kept making the wrong decisions. After finishing GTA 3 again in 2026, I walked away much more impressed than I expected. It is definitely a product of its time. The controls can feel awkward, the lack of checkpoints can be frustrating, and parts of Liberty City feel empty compared to newer open world games. But the atmosphere, mission variety, and sense of progression still work incredibly well. Portland feels industrial and hostile. Staunton Island feels like the center of a real city. Shoreside Vale feels isolated, almost like the edge of the world. The game was also much shorter and easier than I remembered, but that did not make it less enjoyable. It actually made me appreciate how much GTA 3 accomplishes without overstaying its welcome. I understand why
Got
this
it.
game became so important, but more importantly, I still had fun playing it. So is GTA 3 still worth playing in 2026? Yes. You just have to be willing to accept some outdated mechanics along the way. For me, GTA 3 was a strong beginning to my road to GTA 6, and now it is time to move on to Vice City.